Thank you for tuning in to Starting Small. Today, I'm joined by John Pinto of BoomBoom. John, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Cameron. Appreciate it.
Amazing. So to start out, I would like to start out with your upbringing. So where did you grow up and what was your childhood like?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, kind of like the southern suburb called Ahwatukee. Probably most people have never heard of it. But yeah, I had a great childhood. I have two amazing parents. Both are kind of in the holistic health and wellness space. They're both chiropractors by trade, and they have a little wellness center in Ahwatukee there where they have a few other practitioners that rent from them. So yeah, I had a really amazing upbringing there. Played sports growing up, basketball, football. I swam when I was younger. Arizona is very, very hot. So in the summer, you swam and you bowled. So I used to be pretty good at bowling as well, but not so much anymore.
Would you say that you had an entrepreneurial mindset, say like lemonade stands or selling products growing up?
Yeah, I was well, both my parents, had their own business. So I saw that like firsthand, like what that meant to kind of create your own schedule and work for yourself. And also my grandpa too was an entrepreneur. And so, and it's, definitely in our blood for sure. And then I was never one to like go and like splurge and buy things, but I would always kind of stash what I could. And I was really into like trading cards and, but when I got a good one, I'd actually sell it.
Yeah.
I wasn't holding on to it. I remember I had I pulled a Kobe Bryant, like Topps Chrome rookie card.
Oh, wow.
And I sold, it goes for a lot now, but I think I ended up selling it like a year later for like $1,000, and I was all stoked about it.
Wow.
So yeah, I was always like hustling and thinking of ways to make money. And I also went to a basketball camp with Michael Jordan there, and the upper deck was there.
Wow.
And they were like, you could bring one thing to get signed. And I brought like a ball, and then I sold it on eBay.
That's incredible. I don't know if you care sharing, but how much did you like sell that for at that age, especially?
Oh man. So I think that was when I was a freshman in high school. And I think the ball sold for maybe like $1,200. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I got a jersey signed and a ball. I was fortunate enough to go 2 years. The team that I played with, one of the, like the travel team I played with, the coach worked at the camp. So he got the team into it every year. So I got to go a couple of years.
Wow. Amazing. So you ended up going to college. Where did you go to study? And then what did you study there?
Yeah. So I went to Emory University. It's out in Atlanta.
Okay.
Great school. Had an amazing time. I knew nothing about Emory. I didn't even know it was a school or existed at all. And I went there because they had sent me a recruiting letter for basketball. And it was D3, like they don't give scholarships, but basically your payment is like, hey, we'll like let you come to our great school.
Yeah.
And maybe you probably shouldn't have gotten in here, but you are going to play basketball, so we'll make an exception. So I ended up getting into Emory. And then halfway through got into the business school there, kind of like hustled my way into the business school. I was like volunteering at this like conference they would do every year for students. So I did that the first couple of years. And then I kind of, again, like worked my way into the B school there. So yeah, loved it. Had a great time at Emory, and highly recommend people checking it out if they've never been.
Amazing. With your time there, were you involved with basketball all 4 years? What did that look like?
Yeah, so I played the first 2 years, and then unfortunately I had a series of injuries. And they weren't even related to basketball, which is kind of the sad thing. Like I broke my wrist playing intramural softball.
Oh man.
I tore my labrum snowboarding in the off season.
Wow.
And then I also did have ankle surgery that was related to basketball. So all that happened in the first couple of years. And I basically was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And the cool thing though, is that when I was there, we weren't very good. I think we were usually kind of finished at like the bottom of of the conference, and they've completely turned it around. A new coach came in, and they're, making the tournament every year, and they're winning. So, kudos to
Amazing.
them. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. So, following your time there, and then prior to BoomBoom, what kind of jobs were you working then?
Yeah, I basically had no clue what I wanted to do right out of college. So you go to Emory, you're in the business school. I would say probably 80% of the people coming out of that program are looking at finance jobs or consulting jobs, like in New York or Chicago or
Yeah.
LA or wherever. And I knew that I definitely was not going to be doing that. I didn't know what I was going to be doing, but I didn't feel like that was necessarily for me.
Mhm.
And so I moved back home to Arizona. I lived with my parents, like looked on, Craigslist every night for random jobs. I was like playing golf a lot, playing online poker for the summer, and ended up finding this ad on Craigslist that was for a healthy vending company. So like vending machines, but with like healthy food in it.
Yeah.
And they had a really compelling job opportunity ad, and I was like, wow, this seems interesting. And so ended up applying for that, which turned out me being the first employee at a company that was called Human Healthy Vending at the time, and then
Great.
that transferred to what was then like Snack Nation, and now they actually pivoted again, and they're Karoo now,
Oh, wow.
which has been, they've had a quite the journey. COVID stuff really kind of hit their business. It was like healthy snacks delivered into offices, and all that got
Yeah.
turned off almost overnight with COVID stuff. So they've they're Karoo now. But I had a incredible experience working with the founders there, and was able to see really like the growth of the business from me being brought on to maybe like the first 50 employees.
Certainly.
They were like one of the fastest growing companies in Inc. a couple of years, and Forbes and
Wow.
all that. So I really did have a first row seat of like what it takes to build something, and they were doing it pretty quick too. It was definitely impressive.
Definitely. I love when I have guests on and they share that they worked for a startup prior to their startup. So, as you know, you wore many hats at that company, I'm sure. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of impact did your time working there have on BoomBoom, would you say?
Oh yeah, it completely translated, one to one. I
Yeah.
still use some of the same like goal setting, like quarterly goal setting strategies. Like we also have a thing called crucial results that we look at every week with the team, that I pulled from that, like all the little things that you really like, why am I doing this? But it actually
Yeah.
does really matter when you're trying to like run a team and grow a business. So
Definitely.
yeah, it was, and the hustle too. I mean, it was a really fun company culture. They were very like work hard, play hard, a lot of younger people that just getting after it and wanting to like, have fun along the way. So
Definitely.
yeah, it was, I try to kind of bring a lot of that into the BoomBoom culture as well.
Amazing. So, BoomBoom comes around 2015, and what I know, it's around a trip to Thailand. So, if you can kind of describe what that trip was like and what inspired you to enter the nasal inhalation category.
Yeah, for sure. So the trip, I wasn't on that trip. The trip was
Okay,
the other person who used to be involved in the company,
I see.
and isn't really in the mix anymore. But
Okay,
um, there is a daily use nasal inhaler product in Southeast Asia and other parts of the world, but it's very, very common in Southeast Asia.
hmm,
Like they're sold in every single corner store, and they are, again, like I said, part of culture. And so I, when my friend introduced the product to me, I instantly was like, this is awesome. I was like, there's something here. We like need to be like figuring this out. And so um, we basically created, kind of created samples. I was still working at the other, company, but I was out in Los Angeles, 22, 23. Like I had our first batch of samples, and I was just like giving them to everybody. And this was like
hmm,
prior to that kind of 2015, 2016 launch date. So
okay,
we had a lot of like direct feedback from potential customers.
Definitely.
Probably a 2,000 to 3,000 samples worth of feedback, and I'd say 99% of those, kind of that feedback was, hey, this is awesome, where can I buy it? Or I've never tried it, or I've never seen anything like this. And so we knew there was something.
Yeah.
And that was really what kind of set it off. And so we started to kind of build a supply chain here in the States. And then, like 2015 is when our Shopify store went live. And, I had left the other company and was ready to go all in. It was
Yeah.
really, obviously a big risk, and there was no other product like it on the
Yeah.
market. And so we, spent a lot of time like DMing people on Instagram back in the day when that used to be really beneficial, and
Yeah.
has evolved a little bit since then, but that was really the beginning of it.
Amazing. I'm curious at those early days then, what did the R&D and prototyping process look like when creating these samples?
Yeah, so we work with a very, I wouldn't say well-known, but a very legendary fragrance and formulating company that has done a lot of really unique stuff
Mhm.
all around the world. And I just so happened to like get introduced to this lady through kind of like our original manufacturer. And she's like, I don't normally take on new projects, but like, this is different. Like, I want
Mhm.
to help you. And that was,
Wow.
that was like 2015. And so she has been instrumental in like helping formulate all of these scents. And it, it is a process. You start with, hey, this is the idea or the concept of this particular scent. And then they're putting together a bunch of samples.
Mhm.
And then it's, you're smelling each of them. And, my wife, she has the nickname the nose, and that's actually what they call it in the fragrance world as well.
Yeah.
But people that have very keen senses of smell and can really pick up on like different notes that maybe other people wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
And so she's actually been really influential in like picking the final scents, because she's great at it. So
Yeah.
she'd
That's
come into
amazing.
some of those meetings with me, and we actually, we've developed some new stuff along the way, but it's been
Yeah.
fun. And what we're finding is like a lot of people are more attracted to the more of the like winter mint or mint scents that are kind of the two newer flavors for us, because it is a more familiar
Yeah.
like scent. It's almost like a gum or like a mint.
Definitely.
So it's been interesting to see that along the way.
Definitely. So you probably answered it there with your wife, but how would you test effectiveness, like in the early days when you're developing a new, say, scent?
Yeah. You know, the scents don't necessarily have a particular like use case. Like, hey, this one is for this purpose. This one's for this
Yeah.
purpose. Like they all have the same purpose in my eyes, and that is to help support and reinforce nasal breathing. It's going to feel really great. It's going to be very refreshing.
Mhm.
And that was always like the baseline of it. And with that, it's like, okay, menthol, peppermint are like the two kind of strongest components of the product.
Mhm.
And then everything else just kind of layers on top of that. And so like the tropical scent, for example, it is, peppermint, it's menthol, but then it's like grapefruit peel oil and lime peel oil, orange peel oil. So the magic though, and kind of the secret sauce is in like the ratios of all of those,
Yeah.
and really fine tuning that over like dozens and dozens of samples was, really how we've done it. And it's you got a lot of people trying, a lot of blind like smell tests, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Definitely. So I'm curious then in the early days and how this progressed even to today, what is your main marketing strategies for kind of a new category to maybe the US?
Yeah, it's been challenging, honestly. I think, back in 2015 in my younger days, gosh, it seems like I guess I was like 26, 27.
Mhm.
Um, we were like, hey, we're gonna make this as like weird and obscure as possible, and really go like top of funnel, like shock and awe value of like, what is this? I need to learn more. I need to click and find out what this is.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of where it started. And as we've, matured a little bit, now we're starting to get into like a little bit more like specific, use cases.
Mhm.
And so thinking about like who's using it, why they're using it. We have a long list of like surveys that we've done over the years, and trying to get a little bit more like granular on like how we talk to these different customer groups.
Yeah.
But also keeping in mind that like it is honestly like anybody with a nose would enjoy the product, at least 99% of people. So it's more about like, hey, like when are they using it? Why should they have it in their pocket?
Mhm.
And that's more recently why we've really kind of started to lean in on this, the whole aspect of nasal breathing. And it, we have an ENT that gives it to every single patient. And he's like, John, love your product for like the simple fact that it reminds my patients to breathe through their nose.
Wow.
I'm like, wow, that's awesome. And it's so simple. A lot of
Yeah.
people are sitting there like, mouth breathing. They're not like consciously thinking about breathing through the nose. And there's a ton of data and new science that's come out over the last couple of years of like how like impactful and beneficial that is.
Yeah.
And so we see ourselves as just a cool pocket product that is like helping you to like think about that. And yes, it also feels amazing. And there's other benefits to it as well. Like it definitely helps with bad breath. We don't go too deep into like sinus and congestion stuff, but it does like open your sinus passage up. It does have benefits, with allergies and people who, are dealing with that. But
Mhm.
we're not necessarily like marketing to that group
Yeah.
because we want it to be a little bit more like everyday carry, like chapstick or gum.
Certainly. So you mentioned who and why they use the product. I'm curious from that marketing then, can you depict maybe a demographic or a main demographic for the product?
I can tell you exactly who's using our product. We have our Google Analytics. If you're gonna
Oh yeah.
laugh, it's a circle with basically exactly identical pie chart cutouts of every single age group
Yeah.
and male and female 50-50. Like it's insane. I mean,
Wow.
everybody is seemingly interested in it. I don't know if it's not really a good thing when you're trying to sell things online, but um, it is exciting to see that like there's a lot of different people using this product. I think for us though, like when we talk about who we want using our product, it's 18 to 35-year-old male, female, people that are like
Mm.
active lifestyles. Like maybe they're studying for like a test. They're, using it at the gym.
Yeah.
They're using it to just kind of keep on their desk and like stay focused throughout the day. That's in a perfect world who would be, how people would be using it. But we're also like sitting on the shelf at CVS and like the cold cough set. And so people with allergies or who are like not feeling so hot are using the product as well. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big variety of people.
Definitely. So I'd like to talk a little bit about your Shark Tank experience. What
Yeah.
that was like when you found out you got accepted, and also being on set and the interview process.
Yeah, Shark Tank was awesome. We had so
Mhm.
much fun. My wife, I've already mentioned, she came on the show with me, and
Mhm.
um, it was, you don't necessarily, you get work through this whole process, and then you go and like you have like a kind of final couple steps of like, hey, are you going to actually go and pitch the Sharks? And once they approved, like the producers approved us to like have that opportunity, that you still don't know really, right? They're
Yeah.
filming for so many days for, a half a season or whatever. But yeah, we got the call, and even on that day, you may not get to go and pitch. Like it's
Wow.
there's nothing guaranteed. So yeah, the craziest thing was you get to go and um, you get to approve your setup, like even when it's out there before you walk out. Like it's your business, it's your brand. Like they want to
Yeah.
make sure everything looks perfect. And so we had, you leave all your stuff and they set it all up for you. And we had all these samples that we like hand picked for them. We opened them so they weren't like fumbling around trying to open them like during the show. Like we had it all set up, and
Yeah.
I go and look at the thing before we're about to walk out, and everything was mixed up. I was like,
Oh.
so like literally like call it 5 minutes before we're supposed to walk out. I'm like back there, like fumbling through like all these different tubes, trying to find the right ones.
Man.
But it was fine. It all worked out. You
Yeah,
know, it was wild though. Honestly, it was, you kind of go in there and it's pretty intense.
definitely.
But we had fun with it, and it was, helped the business out a lot. And we definitely, if you have an opportunity to go on and pitch,
Yeah,
I'd recommend it, so long as you don't go on there and, act like you know it all kind of thing.
definitely.
Which,
Definitely. So I've had some Shark Tank alums actually on the show before, and they mentioned you don't know if your shows or if your pitch is even going to air. And when it
yep.
does air, they notice a massive spike in website traffic. Was that similar to you as well?
Yeah, it was funny. So when we got the email, because I think they email you like 2 or 3 weeks in advance, being like, "Hey, you're gonna air this day." We
Mm.
actually got aired on my birthday,
Oh,
and
wow.
so we had like a birthday party, like Shark Tank viewing, and my
That's so
buddy
cool.
who runs all of our like digital, we had like a whole command center like set up. Um, Ended up getting like banned from a couple of the platforms like the night it aired because yeah, I could go on for days about advertising online with our product specifically. We're always getting blocked and this and that because they don't know what it is. They're like, is this a drug? Is this a pharmaceutical? Can they like, it's like,
Yeah.
guys, I don't know how many times we need to have this conversation, but
Yeah.
it's an aromatherapy nasal stick. Okay. It's like one of the safer products that you're advertising on your platform. Like, relax. Um, but it was fun. Like, it was great. We had a great time. Sales, I think our Amazon seller account wasn't updating for like a good 5 minutes, and it went from like maybe seeing like 5,000 to like, over 100K type of thing in those like
Wow.
very quick, like few minutes. So
Wow.
yeah, it was definitely a nice bump in sales, and that lasts for, obviously the big air night, and then it probably
Mhm.
peters out over like 7 days where it kind of like starts to drop off.
Yeah.
Um, but then even now we get re-aired on CNBC every probably 3 or 4 times a year and see a nice
Wow.
little uptick. So it's one of those, the gift that keeps giving for sure. I
Definitely.
mean, I could see it being absolutely devastating if it was like a horrible showing. We were
Yeah,
very fortunate that we had a couple of like fun interactions, and it really like I think helped our case. So
certainly. So I'm curious today if you have an idea. You mentioned kind of the minty flavors. What would you say is the top seller then?
winter mint is definitely the top seller, and
Mhm.
then mints and tropical are like the next two right behind that. And we're actually in the process of kind of streamlining some of our operations and really focusing on like those 3 cents because that's what the retailers want. That's what's
Mm,
selling the most online. Um, so we have a couple of new things we're going to launch, but it's going to be after we like launch our whole like rebrand. But
certainly.
it's yeah, winter mint is by far the number one bestseller because everyone's had like winter mint gum.
Yeah,
It smells very much like that. So I think it's just the most like relatable scent.
definitely. So kind of to recap and to the listeners out there who are unaware, so say someone goes to the site, they order a new product. What can the consumer expect when they open that box, and how does the device and the product actually work then?
Yeah, so you'll probably get the envelope. Hopefully, it's in a nice branded envelope from our fulfillment company. Sometimes it doesn't always make it that way, but um, you'll probably smell the package before you even open it because the oils in the product are, very flavorful and very intense. And then I'm trying to open this one for you right now. It's part of our rebrand is we're moving away from these little shrink sleeves, and we're doing like
Oh yeah,
a nice, like soft touch, like proper label. That's a whole other saga, the
yeah,
beauties of entrepreneurship. But it
nice.
literally is it's a little tube. You put it up your nose slightly, give a nice deep inhale, and you're gonna feel like a cooling and soothing vapor travel up the nasal passage, and you can kind of almost like back into your throat. It's not like liquid or anything. It is truly like, if
Yeah.
you've ever used like a Vicks inhaler, it's very, very similar to that. Um, and yeah, you're going to leave it on your desk, or you're going to put it in your pocket or purse, and you'll probably feel like you want to use it, I don't know, maybe 3-4 times a day.
Yeah.
We have people that are using it for very specific things, but we also have people that are using it more of just like a general, anytime maybe you'd like throw in a mint, you'd, get your BoomBoom out too and
Definitely.
give a nice inhale.
Amazing. Well, I like to conclude each episode with this. If you could share one piece of advice with an aspiring entrepreneur, maybe something you've learned or regrets, what would that be?
Yeah. I think what is most top of mind for me is maybe thinking a little bit more about where you plan to sell your product. I was very, very much not thinking about retail when we launched online, but I ultimately knew we would probably push into retail. And so starting to think about like, what does that actually mean for your business on all fronts? Like specifically what I'm thinking about now is like packaging, right? Like
Yeah.
knowing like, where is your product going to sit on the shelf? What are the other people in the space doing? Like there's a reason that the product is like packaged that way and is sized that way.
Definitely.
It'll save you a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money.
Yeah.
That would probably be one of the main thing that's top of mind. And then I think, the other thing is just, you got to be persistent. There's always
Definitely.
ups and downs. It's definitely can be a lonely road sometimes, but it's absolutely worth it in my opinion. And I wouldn't trade the entrepreneurial kind of lifestyle for anything. So
Definitely. Amazing. Well, John, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. And to listeners out there, make sure to check out BoomBoom at boomboomnaturals.com.
awesome. Thanks so
Perfect.
much.